As the sun rose in Toronto on Monday morning, media from around the world gathered and waited. Cameras pouncing as Ghomeshi made his way up the steps of the courthouse for a public eager to see how this case unfolds. Complainants took the stand. The first can't be identified because of a publication ban, but she testified about her alleged assault, saying Ghomeshi pulled her hair and punched her in the head. The defense then mounted an aggressive cross-examination, challenging her credibility, questioning her memory, and revealing emails she sent to Ghomeshi after initially claiming she had no further contact with him. She later released a statement through her lawyer.
I want to encourage other victims of abuse to come forward and not be afraid. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders now that I have had the chance to tell my story openly.
Yesterday and again today, Lucy Ducotere, who claims Ghomeshi slapped and choked her, took the stand. Again, credibility was the issue, as it was revealed that after the alleged attack, she wrote him saying she wanted to have sex and loved his hands. Earlier today, I met up with John Rosen, one of Canada's best-known lawyers for his defense of, among others, Paul Bernardo. He takes us through what happened in court this week. Well, I guess what we've seen is an effort by the defense, Ghomeshi's defense, to try and tear down the credibility of the witnesses, the complainants. The first complainant who was up this week, there was a big moment when it was revealed that after she'd said she'd had no further contact after the alleged assault, that she'd sent him an email that was quite flirtatious, included a picture of her in a bikini.
Right.
How important is that? What
Oh, that's extremely important for two reasons. First of all, it's an inconsistent statement or act when compared to her statement to the authorities. So it's a huge inconsistency. I never had any contact with him, I hated him, all that sort of thing. And bingo, here you have this email and the photograph. So when you have people speaking inconsistently, then you start to wonder whether or not they're telling you the truth. The second reason that it's important is because it puts the lie, at least one inference is, it puts the lie to her assertion that this was such a traumatic event and she wanted to distance herself as far as possible from Ghomeshi. She never wanted to see him again.
Then yesterday and
Yes.
today, the second complainant, Lucy Ducotere, who is okay with having her name mentioned, who says that she was hit and she was choked by Ghomeshi. But again, these information is now coming forward that she contacted him in a flirtatious manner after, again.
More than flirtatious. I mean, invitations to meet in locations and have drinks, and obviously with a sexual innuendo. Well, then you have to ask yourself, did you consent to whatever activity happened in the first place? And is your assertion today that it's not consent a lie or not? Or put it a different way, do I have a reasonable doubt about that? That's all that has to be proved.
So since these apparent inconsistencies have been raised, I mean, in the public, everyone's going, how, and even Lucy Ducotere says, I know it sounds outrageous that I could have taken offense to that and then tried to be buddy or cozy with them afterwards. What does it mean to a judge faced with a charge of alleged assault? Like, does is it then still permission, even though you're cozy afterwards? Does that mean?
Well, no. I mean, she still maintains that she was assaulted and choked. So the judge has to decide, do I accept her evidence? And you look at all the other reasons why he ought not to accept her evidence. And you also look at, even if I'm not sure whether to accept her evidence, then I have a reasonable doubt. So she may be telling the truth, but maybe she isn't. And now I have a reasonable doubt. See, that's what everybody forgets. The Crown has to prove its case beyond a reasonable doubt. Not on a balance of probabilities, what probably happened, but really beyond a reasonable doubt. So the judge might very well say, look, I understand what these women have said, but it's unsafe to convict on this evidence, given the following reasons: the inconsistencies of conduct, the inconsistencies in the statements, and so on and so forth.
It's interesting that the defense has not focused on the actual accusation of assault. What's the thinking there? Don't open that box.
Well, Well, you see, remember, the defense is somewhat boxed in because of Mr. Ghomeshi's Facebook posting where he says, I did have sexual contact with these people, and it was rough sex, but it was all consensual. So you can't very well suggest to a witness that he never hit you when his defense is, yeah, I hit her, but with consent, we were just having rough sex. So...
Which he hasn't said about these particular women, but about the situation in general, that he was interested in that. Yeah.
Right, and we also don't know whether the accused will be called and what he's going to say. So I'm guessing, because I'm not an insider in the case, but I will say that there may have been a tactical reason not to go directly to the core of the charge, because it leaves open the accused coming and saying, yes, that did happen, but it was consensual, or not.
In terms of the, I guess, the case the Crown is trying to make here, there is a certain consistency of story in the accusation that he was charming, and then all of a sudden, he almost Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, Jekyll and Hyde.
How does that impress or not impress?
Well, we don't know yet until the end of the case whether the Crown is going to argue similar fact evidence, that each charge shows a pattern of conduct that would make it more likely that the complainant's version of what happened without consent is true. So that it isn't just each complainant's story in a silo. If the judge does an analysis and says there is this consistency of conduct, or it's open for me to consider as a legal issue, and then he considers it, and then he can use that to bolster the credibility of the complainants and maybe get over some of the hurdles. Now, we don't know whether that's going to happen, and so we have to wait till the end of the trial.
I'm wondering if there's something in the... Lucy Ducoteau has suggested that she didn't understand the depth of the process, that she just thought she needed to tell that he assaulted me, allegedly, and that their entire relationship didn't need to be disclosed, suggesting a lack of sophistication about the legal process. How does that go over?
I don't know. I'd say one of the things that Ms. Heenan has hinted at, I believe, is that she's going to allege collusion among the three complainants.
That they've ganged up on him with a...
Essentially, or that they've talked about their evidence and structured it in a certain way. And, you have to wonder, the first complainant tells this story, I never had any contact, and then bingo, you come up with the emails and the photograph. This one says, knowing about their whole relationship, says, well, I never thought that was going to be an issue. I thought we were just going to focus on the incident. And, well, no, actually, we're going to look at your overall conduct to see whether it's consistent, and why are you pushing that aside? And so is the other complainant doing that. What's happened here? Now we'll have to hear from the third.
Well, her argument is, he hit me. Isn't that really just what matters if I didn't give him consent?
Yeah, exactly. I understand that. But I understand what her argument is. But the judge is still going to have to decide whether or not her conduct following is consistent with a person who has been struck.
So overall, who had the better week, the Crown or defense?
Well, I think from the public's perception, the defense certainly did. But because none of us are there, unless you're there watching minute by minute and watching the evidence goes, and you can't really tell how the Crown's doing. It seems that the witnesses have been wounded, but it also seems that the Crown is still progressively putting one brick on top of the other and building the wall that is going to be his case.
Well, lots more to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.